Opposition legislators in Peru have presented a vacancy motion against de facto President Dina Boluarte. The President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, assures that they could be forced to withdraw step by step from the battlefront. And in the middle of the most brutal genocide in modern history, the 48th anniversary of Palestinian Land Day is celebrated. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Opposition legislators in Peru have presented a vacancy motion against de facto President Dina Boluarte. The motion was based on charges of permanent moral incapacity after investigations conducted in the president's home and office found evidence leading to possible illegal gain. Boluarte is accused of not declaring the use of expensive jewels, which are considered above her income. She was also declared in contempt of court for not complying with two prosecutors' office subpoenas. The motion now needs to be debated and approved by the nation's Congress. The Bolivian government sent a greeting message to Venezuela over the July presidential elections. In an official communique issued on Saturday, La Paz convened its Latin American revolutionary greetings to the Bolivarian government of Venezuela, its people, and its president, Nicolás Maduro. The note also expressed the Bolivian government's concern over the threats and actions by some far-right organizations to destabilize the Venezuelan pulse and its political system. On the other hand, it urges Washington to respect Venezuela's self-determination and independence and to refrain from any interference in its internal issues. In this context, Venezuela's Foreign Minister Iván Gil thanked the government of Bolivia for its greeting to the atmosphere in the Bolivarian nation ahead of the presidential elections of next July 28th, its concern due to the threats and actions by the extreme right wing, and its demand for the U.S. to respect Venezuela's self-determination. In Uruguay, the number of dengue fever rises to over 200 cases after the return of tourists into the country. The Ministry of Public Health reported that studies have revealed 224 cases, of which 113 are autochthonous and 111 imported, including cases of chikungunya and 2 of Zika. He also explained that Argentina, Brazil, and Paraguay are the countries importing dengue fever in 95% of all patients, a disease caused by the Aedes aegypti mosquito, present in almost the entire Uruguayan territory. Health authorities warn about the probability that some people are suffering from the disease and do not have a positive laboratory result, as 75% of the cases are asymptomatic. In Haiti, armed violence threatens child safety and education due to school closures in its capital city, Port-au-Prince. According to data from the United Nations organization, these clashes between criminal gangs have caused the forced displacement of some 360,000 citizens, half of whom are minors. Meanwhile, social organizations and Haiti's health ministry warn that the Caribbean island suffers the highest level of infant mortality in the Western Hemisphere in large extent because of the violence prevailing in the country, which prevents proper medical care of children. It is also known as well that gangs and criminal groups in Haiti have taken control of the main ports and roads in Port-au-Prince. The government of Peru delivers a shipment of humanitarian aid to families affected by an avalanche caused by the heavy rains registered in the last days. The National Defense Institute reported that over 35 families were affected after the destruction of more than 30 houses in San Juan Bautista municipality following the heavy rains that triggered a creek and caused a landslide that affected several villages. While the emergency is still ongoing, the local municipality delivered humanitarian aid to the regional government to be distributed among those affected. Meanwhile, meteorological authorities issued warnings in view of forecasts indicating upcoming rainfall, with moderate to heavy intensity levels in the central and southern highlands of the country. In Colombia, efforts continue to extinguish a forest fire of great proportions in San Onofre municipality in the northern department of Sucre. The fire, which started on March 28, has already burned approximately 1,000 hectares and caused the evacuation of at least 50 people from the zone. According to local authorities, the magnitude of this emergency is immeasurable, so they ask the international government for more aerial support, water, and various equipment to control this huge fire that is already reaching the limits with Bolivar department. In view of the situation, they urge the governor's office of the neighboring department to activate distress management protocols in case the fire spreads to that territory. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. The President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, assures that they could be forced to withdraw step by step from the battlefront. This is what he stated on Friday during an interview with the American media Washington Post. The Ukrainian president assured that if there is no American support, it means that we will go back, we will withdraw step by step. By ratifying that, this is a war more from Washington than Kyiv, reiterating that without air defense, without Patriot missiles and electronic warfare and artillery inhibitors, they will not be able to continue on the battlefront. However, and despite the changes in equipment and strategies, Kyiv cannot convince the Republican Congress, who keep, for the moment, the tap closed. In Russia, the armed forces neutralized an attempt of terrorist attack and captured 3 foreign suspects from Central Asia. The Federal Security Service reported that the criminals planned to detonate a device in a public area of the Stavropol region. During the investigations, homemade explosive device fragments and chemicals were found in the house of one of the 3 suspects. This comes within the context of the terrorist attack that took place a week ago at the Crocus Concert Hall outside Moscow, which claimed the lives of at least 144 people. In the middle of the most brutal genocide in modern history, the 48th anniversary of Palestinian Land Day is celebrated. The Commission of Resistance to the Wall and Settlements says that Israel has stolen more than 2,800 kilometers of territory. Moajed Shaban, head of the commission, also reported that the occupant has started establishing blocking zones around the colonies. This Palestinian organization has registered a total of 52 structural plans oriented to build 8,829 colonial units on an area equivalent to 6,852 acres. On one Earth Day, Palestine was surrounded by the murder of more than 32,000 people. For the 6th consecutive night, Jordans rallied on Saturday in front of the Israeli embassy to denounce the crimes committed by the Zionist occupation forces in Gaza. The demonstrators rejected the continuous Israeli attacks against hospitals as well as the bombardments against the Palestinian territories. They also called the Jordan government to stop its diplomatic and trade relations with Tel Aviv and urged an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. Jordans have been massively demonstrating against the Israeli attacks since the beginning of the conflict on October 7th. However, social organizations have denounced the government's repression against those who oppose the Israeli occupation. The people of Yemen also mobilized in support of Palestinians in Sana'a, the capital city, and 14 other provinces across the nation. The demonstrators assert that Palestine is a priority for the people of Yemen and therefore reject those who remain silent in the face of the genocide carried out by Israel against the citizens of Gaza. The Yemenis also warned the United States and the United Kingdom that any adventure against their territory will be strongly repelled by thousands of Muslim combatants. In Cuba, Palestinian Land Day is commemorated with several solidarity demonstrations and calls for a permanent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. A political and cultural event will be held this Sunday at the headquarters of the Cuban Institute of Friendship with the Peoples on the occasion of the aforementioned commemoration. This event takes place in support of the Palestinian cause in the middle of the tragic circumstances they are currently going through in light of the intensification of the genocide, ethnic cleansing, forced displacement, and a war of hunger that the world never witnessed before. Cuba advocates for peace in the occupied territories based on the creation of two states that will allow the Palestinian people to be free from Tel Aviv's aggression. This Saturday, Cyprus sent the second ship loaded with humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip. Jennifer Freider sailed from the port of Larnaca with 500 tons of aid, including food and medicines. According to local media, the shipment has already been inspected by the competent authorities of the Republic, and the Israeli have also completed the necessary inspections. The aid is expected to reach Palestine in about 65 hours, which is the estimated time of the journey. The Lebanese Hezbollah resistance called on the people of Lebanon to participate in the demonstrations of the World Al-Quds Day on Friday, April 5th. The Secretary General of the Islamic Resistance Movement, Sayed Hassan Nasrallah, stressed that this year's Al-Quds Day takes place in a different scenario from previous years. Nasrallah pointed out that the people of Gaza is witnessing massacres and displacement as a result of Israeli siege, and called on the people of Lebanon to stand in solidarity with Palestinians and to reject Israel's despoliation of Palestinian land. The World Al-Quds Day is celebrated on the last Friday of the holy month of Ramadan in support of the Palestinian people in opposition to the Zionism and the takeover of the holy city of Jerusalem. We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with TeleSUR. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Dutch authorities announced Saturday the release of the last hostage held at a nightclub in the city of Ede. Ede's police confirmed that the prime suspect of the hostage taking surrendered himself to the authorities after releasing the last captive held in the facility. Hours earlier, the police had ruled out a terrorist motive, but called local residents to remain at home and evacuated 150 houses in the vicinity of the club. The police are still investigating the motives related to the incident and have called residents to be calm after the suspect's arrest. The world celebrates this Saturday the International Zero Waste Day with the aim of promoting sustainable consumption and production practices. The waste sector continues to contribute significantly to the triple global crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. The International Zero Waste Day initiative was adopted in 2022 by the United Nations General Assembly to promote sound environmental management and waste prevention and minimization to address the triple global crisis. According to studies, it is collected every year. On this International Zero Waste Day, the United Nations organization calls on the governments of the world to create circular economies to halt the environmental pollution and invest in modern programs based on reuse and remanufacturing of products. The Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, said that humans generate more than 2 billion tons of solid urban waste every year and warned that this figure could double by 2050. The diplomat also called on large companies to minimize packaging waste and extend the expiration date of products. With 4 months to go before the Olympic Games, Apollo's fountain at the Palace of Versailles is back in use after 2 years of extensive restoration work. The Palace of Versailles is due to host the equestrian events at the Paris Olympic and Paralympic Games this summer. Restored main gate and Apollo, test and training arenas, cross-country track and gigantic grandstands, the Château de Versailles is pulling out all the stops to host the equestrian event of the Paris Olympic and Paralympic Games this summer. With 119 days to go before the Olympics, the main entrance gate to the Château, which was visited by 8 million tourists last year, is still partially clad in a glittering mantle covering the very end of its restoration project, scheduled to mark the palace's 400th anniversary in 2023. The work is called the Chariot of the Sun, although it is also known as the Fountain of Apollo, its main protagonist, who emerges from the waters of the pond in his chariot drawn by 4 horses. Pantheon also appears represented at the feet of the horses. It is one of the most important pieces of the 55 fountains that decorate the gardens of the Palace of Versailles. The Chariot of the Sun, or Fountain of Apollo, perfectly reveals the theatrical concept of these Baroque gardens and has become one of the most iconic images of the monumental ensemble of Versailles. Caracas takes to the stage with Venezuela's International Progressive Theater Festival, an event that unites culture with solidarity. Let's see the details with our correspondent Gladys Quesada.
From March 22nd to March 31st, Caracas hosted the International Progressive Theater Festival of Venezuela. Among the main venues was San Agustin, one of the most popular areas of the Venezuelan capital. Its theater, La Alameda, lent its stage for a singular play for its spectators.
Nunca debemos tener miedo de defender nuestros derechos.
This is The Nights of Significance, a Barbadian play in 2 acts that recreates first the kidnapping of Africans, the dispossession of their culture, and then the rebellion of Buza, a historical passage of the anti-slavery deeds in the island. With a minimal scenography and live music, 12 actors interpret these events. In spite of the language barriers, for them it is crucial to bring their message to the Venezuelan lands.
We don't take many opportunities to explore the linkages between our history, and I think this play was a great opportunity for us to do just that, to, tell the public that, hey, listen, we have been through the same thing.
We both have characters, individuals who would have fought for the emancipation, either from colonial slave masters or from an imperialist system. General Buza sought to do so for the enslaved in Barbados, like Simon Bolivar from Venezuela, as he sought to liberate Venezuela from Spanish control.
The play, although simple, contains codes of negritude and blackness shared by the Caribbean and Latin America. Those behind production know very well the value of every detail.
Stitching together the play with the music of Africa fused with the music of Barbados, which is what was created through the slave society in Barbados, was very important to me.
We have very similar history, but in different diasporas. And for Barbados and Venezuela to come together and build a tighter friendship, because that's what's needed within the Latin American country and the Caribbean. We need to be one and not just separate. So this is a step towards that.
In spite of the language barriers, this performance achieved its goal to bring together two peoples with common struggles, and this was its message. Afterwards, it will go to Cuba to expand Caribbean brotherhood through the art. Gladys Quesada, TeleSUR, Caracas, Venezuela.
We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.